The sickness crept up on me, and one day I realized how sick I was, and that it was the liquor that was doing it, and it was time to stop that, and it's very difficult.
When I first stopped drinking, I had immense cravings. They're starting to go a bit, but they're still there, and I'm very aware of them. And I thought at the beginning that I wouldn't be able to live without alcohol because it had become so much part of my life.
I thought, no one in the city is feeling as bad as I am. And I thought, who can I phone? I can't phone my parents and say, guess what, Mom and Dad, I'm a drug addict.
Why do you think it's so hard for women to look at and accept the reality of their addiction and the powerlessness? Why is that so hard for you?
Well, because it's shameful. It's socially not acceptable. You know, it's frowned upon. You know, like I can't.
At any time, there are 13 women at Aurora House, struggling to recover from addiction to alcohol, drugs, or a combination of both. They'll spend 6 to 12 weeks here, dealing with the mental and physical causes and effects of their illness.
I was going to surprise you, but I couldn't.
You couldn't hold it back?
It's an early Christmas present to you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the curling leaf. So go down slowly. Palms will slide back.
They'll participate in a program that includes nutrition and exercise, support groups like Alcoholics Anonymous, Women for Sobriety, or Narcotics Anonymous,
That you had already done step one.
individual counseling, and group therapy.
My son heard about the place and knew that I needed some help, and he talked to my daughter, and there's a story behind it, but I eventually wound up at Aurora. Very frightened, very apprehensive. I wasn't sure what was going to happen to me, but anything would be better than the way I was at that time.
Great. Looks good. Smells better.
What time is it anyway? Since completing my treatment, I was asked if I would be interested in doing some house attendant work here, and I've been here ever since.
Who becomes addicted? She is old or young, rich or poor, a highly skilled professional or never employed outside her home. She may be married or not be any more. She may fall in love with men or with women. She may be a survivor of rape, incest, or battering. She may be addicted to the drugs prescribed for her by a medical professional, just as well as to alcohol or street drugs.
And what's really happened. And we'll just do a round with everyone.
I think I've had a fear of an angry response. And I think with that, it's sort of a fear of rejection along with it. But especially the angry response. And if you don't say anything, if you don't show what you're feeling, nobody can comment on it. And so with me, that's been an escape. And with the marriage, I learned to escape that way and also to go into the bottle.
In a place where the realities of their lives as women are acknowledged, these women discover their commonalities as each confronts the issues and feelings she has drunk or drugged out of consciousness.
I can see a pattern in all my relationships. Like I can never, I guess, get people to do what I want because I never say what I want. I can see that my independence has suffered through that. Like, I'm scared. If I had to be on my own right now, it would be really scary. I know, so I guess my drinking and drugging covered up for that.
What's so frightening about being alone?
I've never been alone. When I was doing drugs, I was alone, but I wasn't really because I was on drugs, and drugs were my friend or my companion or whatever.
Drugs made me feel really relaxed and happy. I could be anyone I wanted to be if I was high. I found school really pressured. I could never get my assignments in on time, or they weren't as good as I wanted them to be. And I would worry at night about that. And I had a student job, and I had a boyfriend, and I tried to have a social life with all of that. And it was too hard, so I couldn't sleep at night because I was too nervous, so I would take sleeping pills. And I was taking too many sleeping pills. I couldn't wake up in the morning, so I started to take speed. Then I realized one day, I thought, I couldn't remember the last time I hadn't taken drugs. I couldn't remember the last time I was straight. So I tried to kill myself. It triggered that, but I attempted suicide.
When I decided that I wanted to sober up, I joined AA, and it really helped. You know, it gave me they gave me a lot of support. But what happens is reality hits, you know. But the 3.5 months was my plateau, and the feeling of being sober and being able to, you know, to do things was great. But all of a sudden, all these things that in life, the living problems, you haven't got no escape from them anymore. And where I would, when something happened that I wasn't being able to handle, where you'd go and drink it, just say, forget it, I can't handle this anymore, and I'm just gonna, you know, go get drunk. You can't. And so it was like, you know, I guess things in your life that's happened, you're not wanting them to happen anymore. So you've got to really dig deeper than, it would take a long time doing it on your own.
So what do you feel like now?
Half sane. Yeah, I'm not, yeah, at least I'm here.
What can you do? Like, how can it be different?
I guess you have to learn to, in my case, I have to learn to be more assertive with my mother.
I'm going through that now. I've been out of here a month now, and it's taken me a good month to even get up enough, whatever it is you have to say to her, well, look, Mom, I can't do it now. How about tomorrow at 10 in the morning I'll be available, or whatever, and give her a time. It's very difficult. And thank God I haven't thought of alcohol. Mm-hmm. When things get me down, I have to be that much stronger to be assertive and not take the other way that I did and go through what I went through. That's hell right there.
Mother, Zelda.
Mother?
Mother.
Yeah. She's canned another 47 jars of apple.
Oh, wow.
Hi, Mother.
And the neighbors come to visit twice. Only this week, yeah.
Your mother sounds like she's been real busy.
Yeah.
I don't know where the line is when you cross over from being a social drinker into an alcoholic. That is something that I don't know where that line is crossed. Whether it is that it has been progressing through the years, or whether it's an emotional line, or what it is, I have no idea. But I do know that you do pass it, and then you're really in trouble. And it takes some people a long time to realize how much trouble they are in.
You know, just sit in there and take it. Mm-hmm. Unless you start helping yourself or...
Because even in a relationship that is not going well, if we've been in the relationship for any length of time, that's a dependent relationship, regardless of how good or bad it is. We just don't want to be alone or go out and start anew or pile up on taking the risk of
you get the addiction to the relationships, and along with that, your self-worth becomes sort of zero.
I call myself an emotional drinker, and whenever things got bad in marriages or relationships, that's when I drank the heaviest. I would just want to block it out, and because I figured I have to carry on with life, and that's the only way I could. That night was a horror show. I was beaten all night long. I was bouncing from walls. He filled the bathtub with water, and with one hand he dragged me in there by the hair, and he then told me I was going to die. He picked me up and threw me in the tub of water, held me under until I thought I would burst, pulled my head out and asked me what it was like to die, then repeatedly did this over and over again. At this point, I didn't care if I did or not.
Kind of put that on paper makes it really real.
Yeah. The battering that's happened in my life, I never associated it, like as being, it happened to me. I would block it off and continue on with life and get right back into it. I never understood why this was happening to me all the time until I come to Aurora. And with that, that's looking at it, finding out that hey, I did not deserve it. I didn't deserve to be hit. I didn't, deserve to go through all that. Really, I never thought I ever did. I thought I didn't deserve this, but somewhere in there, it showed how I took on the blame, that I had to stay there and help. I guess part of it, too, is another marriage failure. It's a very dependent need. I was dependent on just having someone, to have that role, to have that husband, to be somebody. People always said to me, like when I, because I laughed, I laughed about everything, and I said, well, it's just, it's really too bad, but that's the way it is, and I'm fine, and they said, yeah, you're fine, Lorraine, and I believed them and me, and
Inside you weren't feeling fine or funny.
That never talking about it, lying, thinking that you're going crazy. The crazy part's what really got me. Like, you believe that you are crazy. You believe that there's something in me and that I've always been crazy, but now it's coming out more. I'm getting crazier and crazier and crazier. And just finding out that you're not crazy is one of the most wonderful things in the world, there was never any children other than Bob's daughter, Alicia, but she saw that a lot too, and saw him beating on me, and the fear that I felt as a little girl when my mother beat on me, I could see it in her face, in her eyes, in her actions, the way she held me, the way she tried to be my support, my mom, everything to me, and that hurt so much, and I didn't know what to do about it other than to stay there and try and make it better. But I just, like you get that terrible anger that why are these people allowed to walk around on the face of the earth and do this to people? And it keeps happening all the time, and I think that I'm one of those people too. Like if I'd have had my own kids or a husband that was a little like smaller than me, I might have done the same things to him, and that scares the hell out of me.
Because the rage, is
Yeah.
inside. That is scary.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
Are you beginning to get any hope that maybe that rage can take another form?
Yeah.
Yeah. some of the things like isolation, I think, has to be a part of battering. You have to isolate. You have to keep the secret. And so the things that we need to do to preventative kind of things is to not isolate at any time, you know, even when things are good.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, what kind of food do they serve there?
Italian.
I love that.
Get ready, get ready. You're doing all right. It's like this. Let's do that. That's okay. Okay, let's. We'll put it all together, man. Yeah, it's okay. You did it! Great, you did it! I did not. I didn't.
Down how much money will you get?
Slow down.
You know, I don't know, it's just like everything. And last night, you probably didn't do it intentionally, but I opened the window, and it's the same way I've been opening the window every night. And you get up and you closed it some. So it's like you have to go and make it more perfect. And that kind of upsets me. You know? It upsets me that you do that. You know? And I was going to tell you this morning that to get off my case. I was going to tell you a couple of times, and I was afraid that because you bring everything to group, everything that bothers you, you bring it to group, and I felt that this is the best place to do it. Mm-hmm. And the only other thing that I'm seeing, I'm glad that I'm aware of my feelings. I'm glad that I'm aware of people putting me down or whatever. It might be some stupid little thing, like my hair is not combed properly, so it's not combed properly. I know it, you know. But that's okay. I'm not perfect. I'm not trying to be perfect. And like I say, once in a while, if you criticize me, it's okay. But it's just getting a little bit too much. It's like every time I turn around, you're saying something or other. No, I don't. That's why I say I don't want an argument. But like Marlene is a perfectionist, you know, and
But
everything.
that's a judgment right now.
That's a judgment, yeah.
See, what I'm saying is, okay, we'll work it out. Okay. Now, you get the feeling, and you made your case several times, that every time you say something, you feel that Marlene is putting you down. Mm-hmm. That's what you feel.
No, I just feel
I mean, this is like, I'm not, like, how I talk to Alice.
Would you tell her, please?
How I talk to you, Alice, is not that I want to hurt your feelings. It's just the way you take it. And just like this morning, when I put that toast in,
I know that was stupid,
like, I gave you the toast, and I took the other toast, and I put them in, and you says, well, I was only trying to help, and you left the other two toast unbuttered. And I told you, Alice, why did you quit buttering? And you said, well, I was only trying to help. And I says, and you said that, I don't know, but it was pretty childish, how you were acting there. And I told you. And I know for a fact that I ain't trying to hurt your feelings.
You know, like the way you're all talking, when Candace and I had it out, what really helped me was to look and put, what is your input in it? You know, what is your input in getting those feelings too? Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? And that can help you sort it out with yourself and not have a big argument.
there's times when I was in here, I've gone through this craving. Like, I'd even smell it. You know, I could smell the alcohol. And it would last for, a couple days, eh? And I'm just, like, it's so strong, eh? I just, like, if I had let it overpower me, I probably would have just walked out the door. Or made something, like, caused something so that I could leave, eh?
Yeah. Oh, no, I haven't seen that one.
And she's got, like, around here, eh? Like, they're not all just the same size. She's got one that's half.
Living here with 13 women has just been amazing for me, because I basically came in here not liking women. And women are very important for me now, because just to stay sober, I have to share with them, and I need them in my life. So to be here with 13 and go through all the little frustrations and learn to understand them, and and see yourself being understood has been great. Because when I go back, I have to be around women.
It's a letter to my son. I had him. I lost him through the courts, and my grandmother. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And I don't know. I really don't know what to say, so I'll just. Okay. Dear David, I know I've said these things to you before, but never in their full context and poorly explained. I want you to know how sorry I am for all the pain and confusion I've caused you. You were the best thing that ever happened in my life. And when I was carrying you, I had so many dreams.
Just keep breathing.
I swore to whatever God there was that I was going to love my child like nobody had ever loved me. That I would give that child everything I never had and every chance I got. I was going to be the perfect mother of my fantasies. Kind, loyal, loving, understanding, gentle, and patient. I would bake cookies for my little boy when he'd grow older, and always be there for him, and so much more. I remember as a child when I stayed with Grandma Dean, she would sometimes read me fairy tales at bedtime, and I would feel safe and warm, and sometimes I would pretend that she loved me. I told myself that when I had a child, I would do that for him every night and tell him I loved him all the time. Please believe me when I tell you. If I seemed cold and callous with you in the past year, it wasn't to you, but my shame and guilt over hurting you. My precious child. Rita. That was stupid.
That was my son you were talking about. Many a night my kid, probably woke up and wondered where I was when I was down in the bar or out looking for a fix.
And he probably cried himself to sleep a lot like I used to. And I've lost my son to the courts, too. My God, lady, you're not stupid. If you are, I'm stupid. We're all stupid. It's really painful. I think the important thing is that we're doing something with our lives now. We can break the chain.
I really could identify all your feelings when you had him. And I shared a sense of guilt. He wasn't easy to raise. And I did some things that I felt sorry about. I haven't lost him, but I think mostly what I feel guilty about is all the drinking and setting up the chain and not breaking it. Because I didn't have alcoholic parents. But my children were living with alcoholic parents. That's the hardest. That I passed that on to them.
What part of that's the most painful for you, Bonnie?
I didn't want them to see me like that. Even though I've been drinking for a long time, but that was the point where I didn't want them to see me. Because I did all my drinking at home, so they saw me at my worst.
What does this bring up for you?
Oh, I could just relate to everything she said.
Like?
Leaving my baby. And she's so young she couldn't understand when she woke up and I wasn't there. I'm really scared for her.
What part scares you?
I don't want her to have alcoholic parents.
She's already had them, Maxine.
Yeah.
Can you say that?
I'm scared. You know, I've sobered up lots of times before. And always fallen down again.
Mm-hmm.
Except I've never done it with treatment. You know, maybe I just really hope and pray that this time it's going to work.
One of the ways the treatment may change is that you may be able to stop denying how bad it was. Can you say that your child does have alcoholic parents?
Well, yeah, no.
Well, yeah, nothing.
Yes.
Yes, what?
She does.
Say it. Tell the whole group here that your daughter has an alcoholic mother who has left her, who has not been there with her. One of the ways to make sure it never happens again is to admit to it, that it happened in the first place. I want you to say that to the group.
pretending is over, Maxine. The fantasy's over. Keep breathing. Keep breathing. What's your daughter's name?
Maureen.
Maureen. I'd like for you to say to the group that Maureen has an alcoholic mother.
Maureen has an alcoholic mother.
You feel a lot of guilt about her. What we're doing in here is really, we're hitting you hard, and we know that. And we're wanting you to look at the reality of what it has cost you. Of what it has cost you, not what it hasn't cost you yet, but what it has cost you.
So Nicholas, kiss. Bring me that pillow. I didn't want anybody to know that I was an alcoholic, especially back home. The native people have a lot of pride, eh? And when they lose that pride, they're just nothing. I was always shut off in my childhood, and I never got that chance to really say how I felt, and I was always being shut off, and there was no communication with my dad or my mother. My dad was an alcoholic, a real bad alcoholic, and we were really poor. And like I sort of grew up in the dark, and and then when I did leave home, I left home when I was 13. And how I felt, well, like, to be accepted, I had to either be high on dope or to be drunk. Because when I did drink, That's where I got my courage. Corey, what are you drawing? When I did these issues in group, I always felt like, how am I going to go through this? You know, how am I going to face those women after they hear my story? And that's where I found understanding and trust. And I've never had that before.
When I hear some of the stories, I feel very guilty because I don't know why I drank. I certainly didn't have some of the problems that we hear about. And I don't know, maybe I was lonely and my children had reached an age where they were moving away from home. And whether I was lonely, I suppose that had a lot to do with it. And of course, it's a progressive disease. Once you start and it gets out of control, it just keeps rolling and it goes on and on and on.
What issues have I worked on? The big issue of the marriage and separating and having Dick come down for counseling. That was the big issue. What issues will I work on next week and how? I'm thinking about dealing with my parents and my husband's parents and what's going to happen there. And I'm thinking a lot about, the physical facts of separation too. What positive changes do I see occurring? I see a couple of things. I feel a stronger commitment to remaining sober. I feel it's really strong, much stronger now than it ever has been. And I see a willingness to talk about my problems. And this is a biggie for me because it's always nice not to talk about my problems. So, in fact, I talked about it at the AA meeting on Monday. I didn't say a lot, but just enough to know. And that felt good too. Am I satisfied with my participation with individual counseling? Yes. Group? Yes, it's getting much better. I'm not shivering and shaking. Activities in the house? Yes. Yoga? Yes. AA? Yes. And diet? Well, I blew it this week.
Are you going to come to the meeting with us tonight, Candace?
Yeah.
I know I'm going to need AA a lot when I get out of here. I need something to lean on. And that's what it's there for. When I first came here, they make you go to 2 meetings a week, so I went, because I was forced to. Then after that, I went just to get out of here, just for, to get away. And I've found myself liking it, And now I'm looking forward to the meetings.
The biggest breakthrough would be learning about my emotions, which I had denied. I didn't want to feel anything because it was too painful. Like I could only focus on really miserable things, it seemed, like negative. And like I realized there's a lot of, there is happiness in me, only I've suppressed it. Or, I couldn't find it. So I would, I've learned, right now I am pretty miserable at this moment. Because I do miss the fact I can't do drugs ever again.
Is there any main thing that you can fall back on that changed your life when things get really hard?
I think the most important thing I learned here was simply not to be too proud to ask for help. And I have to keep remembering that.
You know how when you get healthier and better, you're feeling like, hey, you've got things to do. And when you're kind of told that you're not, ready to leave yet, did you ever run into that? How did you handle it? Or can you give me any advice on how to, to kind of...
Yeah, I think that when I was in here at one point, I thought I had the world by the balls, and I'm just ready to go out and do it all. And that was very reminiscent of my alcoholic thinking about how I can handle anything if enough things are going right, eh? And then I got to the point where I thought, oh my God, they're going to make me leave before I'm ready. And I'm not, you know, and can I stay, please? And then they said yes, and I thought, good, I'll stay here for the rest of my life. And then I got over that and realized that things were starting to bug me enough that it was time to move on to the next stage, which meant outside.
How do you feel about admitting to people that you are an alcoholic? Did you keep it hidden for a while?
I made the mistake of doing that the first time I went to treatment, and then realized I was playing a game at protecting myself, because if nobody else knew, then I could play with it too. So this time I made a commitment to myself that I would tell everybody I knew I was an alcoholic, and that way it was setting up a much more realistic sense of protection, because if they knew, if there was ever a situation I found myself in, and I thought, no one will know if I have one, you know, then maybe somebody would have the courage and the sensitivity to say to me, hey, but you said you were an alcoholic, and you can't do that. And like, I don't believe in the stigma. There's nothing wrong with me in terms of why I became an alcoholic. Like, it's not an inadequacy in me. There's a whole bunch of different reasons, and they were all together in the same place at the right time for me to become alcoholic.
Last night I spoke to my mother, and she was quite disgusted with me because she says I'm not a drug addict and I'm not an alcoholic, and I should leave this place as soon as I can before they brainwash me and make me think I am. And I said to her, don't you remember when I'd come home so drunk I'd pass out on the living room floor? No, she said, you have a problem. Maybe you have a drinking problem, but you're not an alcoholic. You are not a drug addict. You've only been on drugs for 2 months. Mom, no, I've been on drugs for a long, long time. She's really ashamed. My whole family is. My father is really appalled. My mother is disgusted, and my sister is embarrassed. They haven't told anyone, like other relatives or friends, where I am.
I knew I was alcoholic. I never saw the connection between that and my Valium addiction. So for the whole time I was in treatment, I thought, well, I can still take pills. You know, it was the booze that caused all this trouble, not the pills. And that was one I had to wrestle with. And then when I saw the connection that all chemicals are chemicals, and there's just no way around that, then I had to accept the fact that I couldn't ever take anything again to make myself feel better. Yeah. But that was some time coming.
Do you look at a drink now like it's poison too?
Sometimes I look at it with fond regret. Being out for dinner is often a strain momentarily. When I see other people enjoying it and drinking responsibly, I'm envious of that. But I know what it does for me, and I know what it did to me, and I know I don't want that ever, ever again. So it leaves me very quickly. But sure, why shouldn't we miss it? We spent most of our lives liking it, you know.
It's going to take a lot of strength and a lot of support, you know, to realize that I can't change anybody else, that it's just me that I can change, and to live with that.
You know, like, I've wasted so many years, and I mean, I can't. I just can't afford to lose what I found.
It's a completely new way of life compared to the years that I spent when I was drinking. I don't know, I have all new friends. I have... It's hard to explain. It's just a complete turn around.
This is kind of nice.
I like this.
Okay, that's about
I don't have that much when I need to. I know you're You never even stayed for my side. You've got to talk to you when you want to. Yeah. You're gonna go cry. Change partners.
I'm going to talk to Sharon. Because it's
not all
personal.